Alright gamers, quick video over my UI and key bindings for World of Warcraft. So, hopefully this is well visible. Here, I enabled my action bars so they're visible at all times and not only on mouse over. So, my logic is, when I'm playing World of Warcraft, right, especially on the Feral, I don't need to have my rake, I don't need to have my rip, I don't need to have my ferocious bites in the middle of the screen to see if they're available or not, because it's all in my head. Alright? Feral is one of those specs where the buttons that you have available to press depend on what kind of resources you have. It's probably the same for Rogue. So, at this moment, on the screen, the most important informations for me to deal damage are combo points, which are right in the middle of my screen, and energy bar. I can have it displayed also in the number, which I do have. That's gonna come later. But that's the most important thing for me. If I have more than 35 energy, I know this in my head because I played this for a while. If I have more than 35, I can cast Rake, right? I cannot cast Rake because I was below my energy. Unless I have a clear casting proc, right? Pretty simple. I have now 5 combo points, I can now rip. Right? I don't need to have those icons displayed on my screen. It's unnecessarily clutter. Right? Right, good. Second part that I have is in middle of my screen. We're gonna go outwards from the middle in the direct middle of the screen. We're gonna go outwards to the sides and to the bottom and to the top. Second part that I have in the dead middle of my screen is the buff bar. But it's not all buffs. As you can see, leader of the pack is here on the top right. This is done all by filters. ELVUI is a smart add-on that lets you configure right here, unit frames, player. Right? I can press show auras. It will generate a bunch of dummy auras for me. Those are the debuffs. Those are the buffs. I can move them around. I can change their size. Right? I can make them bigger. I can make them small. I can do a bunch of shit to them, right? And I can move them around. I can move them up. I can move them down. I can change other settings like font sizes on them. Stuff like that. If you use ELVUI ever, you know this. Let's put it back at 0. Okay. So we're gonna disable those for now. I already break my stuff. 0. Enter. Okay. So now there's a key combination in ELVUI that lets you hide buffs and debuffs from yourself on the fly in the middle of the combat. So for example, right now I have the cat form buff visible just for my own information, because sometimes it's like in the heat of the things, you don't really know if you're switching between bear and you're switching between cat and that stuff. Sometimes you're caught like in the middle of GCD and you end up in caster form, but you thought you're already in a cat form, so this is useful to see. But if I wanted to get rid of it for now, I can just hold shift and right click and it will disappear. You can see the spell cat form has been under the blacklist unit frame aura filter. If this happened to you by accident and you want to bring it back, right? You go to filters, blacklist, and cat form. Oh, you can choose it from the list, I forgot. Should be alphabetic. Yeah, cat form. And remove that spell. And now, if I'm not mistaken, if I turn back, it should come back. But it doesn't. I guess I failed. I think it will appear eventually, but you get the idea. Let's try again. Sometimes it's a little bit goofy. Get out of combat. Filters. Blacklist. Yes. Cat form. Oh, there it is. I disabled it here and now it works. It has a different ID, I guess. There it is. So now I see it back. Other buffs you can see, this is a proc from the Mystic Enchant, right? Ambush Predator appears, so I can press it. The moment I see it appears here, I can react to it instantly. The other thing, Predator Swiftness, right, is also one of the procs. Here, I can use it to like heal myself instantly, whatever the frick I want. Those healing over time effects, when you join a raid, you will instantly see like 10 of them appear, but you can quickly just shift, right-click them off. You will never see them again. Right? Okay. What about the debuffs on the enemy? Well, debuff on you will appear right here. Let's say you get stunned. Let's say you get you're standing in like a fire zone on the floor, right? It will appear here, and you can immediately see. But what about the debuffs on enemy? Well, I moved the debuffs. Normally they would appear like here, right? But I moved them to the middle of the screen so I can easily monitor when my bleeds are ticking, right? I see them in front of my face. Normally people would do that with weak auras, but there's a reason I don't do that. Because like this, when I have this set like this, I can instantly use the same UI for different characters. It doesn't matter which character I'm playing. It doesn't matter if I'm playing Priest. It doesn't matter if I'm playing Warrior. It doesn't matter if I'm playing a Feral. It's all plug and play. I don't need to download the entire special pack of weak auras for it. The only weak aura I have currently on this character is this counter right here, this energy counter. And you might think, wait, Ogre, why do you have two? You have energy bar and you have an energy counter. Why is that? Well, I open my weak aura. I made this, but this is irrelevant. I have only one energy counter right here, right? I don't have any other weak aura. This is important because sometimes as a feral, like you're out of energy, right? You have nothing to do. Let's say I use my fairy fire, I'm out of energy, I spent all of my energy, now I'm waiting. 1 GCD, 2 GCD, 4 GCDs, whatever, you know? So when you're empty on your resources, you cannot do anything. You can turn to caster form. In my case, it's Shift and E. Hurricane, right? It's casting, Hurricane, casting. And in the meantime, my energy will be charging. And I see it on the counter. How far is it? I don't have the count in my head. Let's spend some energy again. See, Hurricane is going down, and energy is slowly going up. Okay, already at like 85, you can change back because there's a small GCD. And you continue DPSing in a cat form. Same with the bear form. You spent all your energy. Boom, quickly into bear form. Do some swipes, do some lacerates, do some mangles, do some mauls. Get back to cat form and start do DPS in the cat form. Same stuff. Okay, so that's the third almost closest thing in the middle. The next part is those buttons. Normally in most UIs you would have a weak aura package that has a bunch of icons with cooldowns overlays. It's like usually a couple megabytes weak aura, which is pretty heavy, right? But instead I chose to make a bar. I have 2 bars in ELVUI. bar 4 and bar 5 are right here. And I can place any single spell, any single ability. I can drag and drop in here and observe their cooldown. If I don't need it, I can drag it off, right? I'll only place like the most important stuff in there, like my big DPS cooldowns, my interrupt, my stuns, my solar beam, stuff like that. Usually I have it organized in a way that I'll have in this bar, I'll have my offensive stuff, right? Mostly offensive stuff. And on this side, I'll have my utility, my kicks, my innervate, my solar beam, my nature's grasp, right? I don't have berserk yet, but if I had a berserk at the moment, I would put it here. And then I would move this bad boy here, for example. And rage is also not so important at this point of the game. So bark skin, I could move my bark skin here, but generally speaking, it's every minute, so it's not that important to know, but it's nice to know it sometimes. Get in the combat. I also set this up in a way that it hides when I'm out of cooldown, so it doesn't clutter my out of combat, so it doesn't clutter my screen. Right? So we have a bark skin here and the defensives. So that's it, right? Tranquility, well, this is like 8-minute cooldown. You probably don't have to monitor it so much, but it's useful to know when you have it or not. Sometimes I recovered like almost a failed dungeon, almost a wipe in a dungeon because you just stand still, don't DPS, just tranquility for a while, just to give the healer a little breathing room. Okay, so we have that. We have the middle bars covered, we have the resource bar covered, we have HP bar now, your HP and mana bar. This is important for a couple of reasons. For example, it's important to know if you're alive still or not, and how alive are you. The moment you run out of HP, you die, which is quite suboptimal for your DPS output, right? So sometimes in a fight, you have situations where, yeah, for example, like a big AoE circle here and a big AoE circle here, and the boss stands like right next to those two, and you have to really tightly position yourself, especially as a melee character. As range is a little bit less important, but as a melee character, and you need to like squeeze the position, you squeeze yourself into the position, but you don't know yet already if you're taking damage or not, or if you can afford to get a little bit greedy and take maybe a little bit of damage, but still continue DPSing, right? So that's why it's important for you to monitor your HP. I will not even consider situations like PvP where, you know, you get too greedy and you get punished and you die. So it's important to have your health bar in the middle. Is it important to have it that big? Probably you could like make it even smaller and just make it a small thing here, right under the energy bar. I might make it one day. We'll see. Also the mana bar, it doesn't need to be that thick. It can be like 1 pixel big. So you just go to EC, unit frames, health, or actually power. I'm gonna reduce it by, oh, this is an energy bar. I want to, okay, because I have it in a way that if I change to a caster form, my power bar is my mana bar, right? And if I change to cat form, my power bar is going to be energy. But this is very druid specific. You could make it for, you could make it way smaller. There's probably a way to make it that you change only the mana bar while you're in this form. I'm not sure exactly how to do it right now. I'll have to dig a bit, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so there's that. But I can, for example, make my health bar way smaller. 50. And change height to make it tiny. It doesn't have to be that big, right? It can be this small. It's enough information, you don't need more. Right? Cool. What else? I enabled, right now, I enabled this mouse over. So I don't have to mouse over to show this, but this is just for the purpose of the video. Normally I would play like this. Turn this, mouse over, mouse over, mouse over. So I never see this. I only see it if I mouse over it. I don't need to see it at all times. It's not important to me. Right? What else? I have an additional bar that's kind of sneaky. Right here, bar 6. It's also invisible. I can mouse over it. And if you see here, I have the button that's left to the 1. In Polish it's called tilde, but I'm not sure what it's called in English. This one toggles the cat form for me. This is useful in a way that normally I would have like cancel aura macro to cancel cat form, but for whatever reason on Bronzebeard you cannot just right click off your form. I'm not sure if that's intended or not. It might be a bug, maybe it's how it works in vanilla, I'm not sure actually. But either way, I have here cancel cat form. Sometimes you want to like you just got into the dungeon, you're in a cat form and you want to rebuff, right? You want to put your horns on, you want to put your Mark of the Wild on or whatever. So I just turn off the cat form, press the key binding for the buff, and it's on, right? Horns, I just immediately added it to blacklist because I don't need to know. But if I was playing tank, it's useful to monitor. You could do it also with weak aura if you wanted, and have a weak aura scream at you when you don't have horns buff active. You get the idea. Now, back to the key bindings discussion. This is feral specific. You will only do it as a feral, but I highly suggest learning how to use it on specs that are very spammy. When you have a button that you have to spam a lot, right? I would highly suggest to learn how to do the spammable button on the mouse wheel. Because A, it's gonna save your hand from destruction, right? Because if you do this all the time, you will destroy your hands. So this is for your longevity. For example, Enhancement Shaman, I think in BFA had like a very spammable Storm Strike. You would spam it over and over again, right? So I got used to shredding with the mouse scroll. At first it might feel weird for you, right? But right now I'm just I put myself in cat form. I'm just holding right mouse button to move around, right? And I'm shredding all the time. Just by moving my mouse scroll. I'm not super fast with it. I'm just little moves. If I had camera I would show you, but I don't. A little moves with my mouse scroll and it keeps shredding. It's like a couple buttons per second, a couple key presses per second basically. Because that's how spammy the mouse scroll is. Right? This is important because as a feral, you know, or if you don't know, shred has a positional requirement. You need to be behind your target always for shred to work. You can cheat the system a bit by standing in the middle of the enemy. I'm not sure if it's working on training dummy, but it works definitely on monsters in the world. If you stand in the middle of their hitbox, like slightly to the front of their hitbox, and spam A and D and spam shred, it will shred them from the face. That's why you maybe notice I don't have claw on my keybind anywhere. I don't have it. Let's compare the damage. I don't have the mango, I don't have the other buffs for shred. But it's only gonna get worse with levels. Like with levels, shred, this is gonna make shred better, this is gonna make shred better. There was something else, I believe. Mainly those two talents, the bleeding thing and Rendant here. So shred here, 222 damage. Let's see, claw, 145. It's almost the same energy. Like shred is 2 energy more expensive, right? So basically basically never want to press claw unless you're using some goofy mystic enchants, but I'm not doing that. I tried the one with the razor sweep, didn't really like it a whole lot. Some people said it's amazing, but it's definitely one of the playstyles in the world, right? Okay, so we have the shred bar here. Wheel up, wheel down key bindings. The rest of key bindings go as follows. This is on every single character that I make. It doesn't matter if I'm playing Shaman, if I'm playing Feral, if I'm playing something else. I always begin with this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your keyboard. Those are easily accessible by your left hand. E, R, F, T. Those are also easily accessible by your index finger. X, Q, and Z are accessible by your other fingers, right? You can have different ones. It all depends on your ergonomics. You could debate on key bindings for 10 years, but there's a principle in here. There is a principle. On 1 to 5, you will have your general rotational abilities, right? The stuff you press often. On E, on every single character, I will have my AoE button, my main AoE button. In this case, is swipe. If I was on like a Shaman, I would have Fire Nova in here, right? Get it? On R, I always have my DPS cooldown, right? On F, I have one of the utility buttons or stuff that you like. It's an additional button rotational. It might be my Frost Shock on Shaman. It might be my Fairy Fire on Feral, stuff like that. T, this is where the Savage Roar is gonna come in, because you don't need to press it very often, but you still need relatively easy access to it. But T is also my taunt button when I'm in their form. Also when I'm playing a tank spec. T is also my taunt, right? X is usually my defensive. In this case, I have Prowl here on my cat. I have Bark Skin. I would have Survival Instincts in here, but I also have a Decurse on higher. Q is always my interrupt, right? You need to have your interrupt easily accessible on your keyboard. So Q is very easy to press and quickly slam without fat fingering it, right? Shift Q and Control Q is gonna be additional interrupting abilities, stuns like that, stuff like that. On Z, I will have my healing abilities like self-healing regrowth, self-healing healing touch, and tranquility. So it's all kind of thematic. This is how I do it. You could argue about key bindings for years. I've seen people have very elaborate macros, but I don't really like it because I'll tell you why. I don't really like those elaborate UIs because and macros, because at one point in Battle for Azeroth when I was raiding, I had some issue with my computer and it would be resetting. Like all of my settings would be purged from my computer completely. So I would have to reset my UI, everything from scratch. So this is why ELVUI comes in play, because I can just import a profile from ELVUI right here. I can import, copy paste the entire profile in here, and it's gonna load. So plug and play, I would have a new UI within 20 seconds, right? But that's my personal experience. I've seen people have massive ELVUI chorus like that loads 10 megabytes of different ELVUI chorus. I'm not sure how good that is with frame rates and whatnot. Some people say that ELVUI is bad on frame rates. I personally didn't have that issue. Like running here, no errors. Also, it's important if you're playing on Ascension to get the Ascension version of ELVUI chorus. Sorry, not ELVUI chorus, the ELVUIs. Because they have some additional options. It's like version 7.0, and the one ELVUI version I found on the internet was like 6 something. It had so many errors. It was throwing like 600 errors per second or some shit, and it was straight up lagging my PC. So make sure you get a decent version for yourself. I'm personally using the one that's in the launcher right now. Okay, is there anything else I wanted to say about the UI? The rest of the things you can You can adjust by yourself, like as you like them. Sometimes I like to hide my chat completely if it's like in the middle of raid. I don't need to see any of that thing. The less you have, the better, generally speaking. You will have enough information on your screen already in middle of the raid. You will have your DPMs, you will have your raid nodes or whatever the hell. So you don't want that to clutter your stuff, right? I will make an export of this very specific UI on Pastebin or something. I'll put it down so you can try it out and see if you like it. Key bindings you have to set yourself. You do it easily on the ELVUI by doing /kb, right? And it says exactly what you need to do. Hover over a button, press a key binding. To clear a button, press escape. So you can do this. Right, on all your bars, you can clear the key bindings and you do it again in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, E, R, S, T, X, Q, Z. It's set back in. It's that simple. All right. What else did I want to say? Oh, the important part is for yourself, like the filtering the abilities. So there is, as I explained, with shift and right click, you can do the filter thing. I think you can adjust the button to something else, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere you can do it. Filter. Enhanced. Buffs. There is somewhere an option that you can change that key combination to something else if it collides with your key bindings, right? Oh, I also have one important information I have in here. I went to interface and there's a mouse over casting and I enabled friendly. What this does is, without any macros, I have a couple macros here that's also important to, but without any macros, I have mouse over healing ability. So right now I'm gonna press Z for regrowth. It's gonna target this blood elf. I'm gonna, let's say I have a party frames here. I'm gonna mouse over my own frame. Use me. If I wanted to dispel something, I can target him. But there's nothing to dispel, you see? Nothing to dispel. Renew, I can hide it with the keybind. What else I can show? The innervate, let's say this paladin, this priest is low on mana. Boom, innervate him. That's simple. Party frames. This is where you need to sit down and do your own work. I'm gonna display frames here. This is how the party frame is gonna look like in combat if you're gonna be in a party, right? It has buffs and debuffs as an icon. You need to, actually I can do it right now as we speak. I'm gonna try adjusting them right now a bit. We're gonna override the size a bit. Gonna move them a bit. But those are the buffs. The buffs are not as important. If you do smart filtering, this is especially important if you're a healer. For example, if you do smart filtering here, this filters, you can add an entire like turtle buffs. This means it's when your tank is gonna press like his wall or something, you're gonna see, okay, he's a wall up, I don't need to external him, right? He's gonna be fine, I'll just heal, right? You see his wall fades, okay, this is the time he's gonna take more damage, so you either heal more or you just throw external at him or do something, right? That's more important for healers. But the more important part is for you to see debuffs. And debuffs are so big here, for whatever reason. Debuffs, we're gonna change them a bit. We're gonna move them downwards. This is a little bit of empty space here. So for example, as a druid, I have Dispel Remove Curse, right? This is very important. For example, in Scarlet Monastery, sometimes there's a very big healing reduction debuff that sometimes happens. Normally your frame would just turn purple, but you don't know, you know somebody's cursed, so you can dispel them, but you don't know what curse that is. So it might be important to see a specific icon. But you might also run in a situation when target will have like 6 different debuffs that you cannot decurse. Normally, it should only show you the things that are dispellable. But this is like very in-depth, very personal for you, for what class you're playing, like what you're gonna be able to get away with or not. But if you're interested, there's also all those options that you can play around with. Don't be afraid to experiment, because ELVUI is really powerful. Most people that use ELVUI just use the basic settings and they think they're set, right? But it couldn't be further from truth. You don't need your grid when you play with ELVUI. You don't need grid. You don't need your rate frames. ELVUI can handle all of this for you if you set them a bit for yourself. Right, so I have my rate frames here, right here. If I was in the raid, my party frames would disappear, but instead my rate frames would appear here. And in the same way, you can configure buffs and debuffs on rate frames, all that stuff. So don't be afraid of experimenting with it a bit, right? Anyways, I'm gonna go. That's gonna be it for video. If you have any other questions, I was thinking about making like a basic Pharaoh guide stuff, but let me know if you're interested in that. There's not many Pharaoh players. I can cover the basics of playing a Pharaoh, but this is how my UI looks like. My UI preferences have changed a lot across the years. This is currently what works best for me. Everybody is different. Some people like classic UI. God bless them. I personally am a little bit different in that regard. So I'm gonna copy paste this. I'm gonna put it in the paste bin. I'm gonna put it in the description box down below. Hopefully it doesn't disappear. Right? So that's gonna be it for video. Thank you for watching and see you in game.